Hey everyone, this is GosuDad and welcome back to Season 5 of the Blizzard Online Ladder. This is Game 6 for my Season 5 run, playing 1v1, playing Terran, and focusing on macro games, going for the focus on economy and production. So you can see I'm building my little SCVs guy, a little slow start there coming off. And my opponent, RawbB, is playing Zerg. He's in Silver League, up in the kind of upper quarter of his division. I'm at actually, I think, like 51th rank in my division, but looking for a nice long game here on Shattered Temple. So long, in fact, we're going to move up the speed to try to keep up here so this cast doesn't take forever. So here we are, putting down my supply depot at the front of my ramp. So Shattered Temple, a pretty old map, was originally Lost Temple in the original StarCraft 1, and then redone for StarCraft 2 as Lost Temple, then changed into Shattered Temple with some revisions to the map. There were some slight inconsistencies with the balance and stuff like that. They had some cliffs that the Terran player could drop down that the Zerg player couldn't attack, which was pretty bad. So they made some changes, I think, for the better. And then finally, in Season 4, they made some changes to this map to prevent the close by ground spawn positions. So we know that we're either in the cross map position or close by air. So at this point, he knows where I am. I do not know where he is, but this SCV is going to... Ooh, let's see if we can follow these guys in fast motion. Watching them go across the map, I will find out that he is in the cross by ground position, and inadvertently sending this Marine out over. He was rallied to follow that to SCV, so Zergling's passing right by him, and I was going to keep him down here to scout out when that expansion comes down from the Zerg player, as it most likely will come down. Oh, he's actually able to kill a Zergling or two. Going up to 3 barracks on my side, and I am already stockpiling a lot of minerals, and so is my opponent. So should be seeing another hatchery from him, and looks like, ooh, went for a macro hatchery. I just played this game just a moment ago, so it's kind of interesting to see what my opponent was doing at the same time. He is macroing away. Looks like he's building another queen here, so a macro hatchery, double queen, should be a lot of unit production, but only coming off of 1 base. So I'm really not sure that how beneficial this is for my opponent, given that he only has 1 base. I mean, even though you can make a lot of units all at once with these hatcheries, which is great, you really need to have the economy to back up that production. Now, one other thing that I noticed far later in the game is he had this nice little overlord where he could see a little bit into my base, and I had no idea that this overlord was here for most of the game. So as you can see, I'm also building up to my 2nd base, going for a command center. I actually had so many minerals banked, I said, well, I might as well go ahead and expand at this point, which is, I mean, 7 minutes in the game, that's not too bad, and moving these Marines out. But of course, not even realizing that this overlord is here the entire time. Got a nice little Zergling out to get vision out of the middle. I think he may have brought that Zergling over just to see what was going on. So he's got a hint that I'm expanding. And on his side, looking at the production queue, he's just making a ton of Zerglings. What is he doing with that? That's kind of interesting. So he's got these Zerglings up here, which is a nice little kind of insurance plan for him in case my units try to come in here, try to attack the natural. His Zerglings can come in behind and provide a nice little surround and contain to kill off my units as they come in. So being in Silver League, maybe that's something that he's done in the past to try to keep up, keep the pressure on the Terran and keep me in suspense. He's actually done a pretty good job of continuing to build units. Our supply counts are very similar, although looking at the worker supply, look at that, I'm at 29 worker supply compared to 16. You know, he does have more army supply, but look at that difference. That is just amazing playing a game against a Zerg player. And, you know, there you go. Even though he's got a macro hatch, let's double click and see how much larva that's unused he's got going here. He's got so much larva, and queens doing the larva inject on the hatchery and this layer. He's just producing so much larva but not really doing anything with it. He's baking quite a bit of minerals here, but he really needs to be getting a lot of gas if he's going to make use of that extra production. Oh, I kind of missed this part. So so here's that Nidus Worm, a bunch of Zerglings coming in. I'm going to be able to hold this off, lifting off the orbital command. You can see not much damage has been done against that, although he has killed quite a bit of workers. So these Zerglings are going to cause just a terrible amount of annoyance damage here. Are they going to be able to take that out? They won't be able to, but that was kind of rude. Taking out the worker supply, so now he's brought me down 16 down to 16. So we are tight on worker supply. I've got my 2 bases here. So at this point, he could really macro up if he wanted to, but it looks like he's just going to continue to build a bunch of Zerglings, and he had a whole nice little flock of roaches here. That's pretty cool. And now finally expanding out to his hatchery. So that was kind of a surprise. I'm not sure how much of a benefit that was to him. I've got 3 barracks here, 1 factory, 1 starport, building some banshees. I'm not sure how much, finally rebuilding this main base, getting those refineries down, and still not scouting this little guy out here. Now, I kind of wondered if he had some changelings in the base. I don't really see anything from the Zerg player, so going back to his base, he's sending some Zerglings out to do some scouting, and some roaches. Now, I think these roaches burrow has not been done quite yet. Got a couple of overseers. He wants to make sure that he's safe from any kind of banshee harassment, and a whole bunch of queens back here, so that should do him very well. I got a bunch of... Here's his little changeling coming into the base. Ooh! A tank seeing that. Not quite sure how he was able to detect that was... That's very interesting. I'm not sure why he was able to detect that was a changeling. I would have thought that would have been... Oh, maybe it was a baneling. So he's got a bunch of banelings in the middle of the... Excuse me, a bunch of banelings in the middle of the map. Trying to cast really fast here because the speed is just going at double pace here. So these got some burrowed roaches here, and slowly trying to get his creep spread across the map. And my banshees here are checking to make sure to see if he's expanded, but don't forget he expanded pretty late. So he's basically going off of kind of a 1 base. These minerals are fairly reduced here, but up to 3 hatcheries. So once again, able to build a lot at once, but not a lot of economy production to match it. So Zergly is checking things out, and Roach is going to be pulling down these rocks, which will be great for him to expand to a 3rd, which he really could make use of with those macro hatcheries there. But back on my side, now this is kind of funny. I'm actually filling up this backfield, hoping to prevent another Nidus Worm, kind of inadvertently. But you can tell that just by looking at the supply count that I've been focusing on building workers, which he hasn't. He's only on 20 workers, even off a 2 base. And I'm up to 30, and my army supply is just skyrocketing up. Of course, a large army supply doesn't matter if your opponent is able to continue to do sneaky things to slow you down. And at this point, the game's been going for 20 minutes in game time, so he's been able to really slow me down. I don't even see these roaches up here. They're hiding very well. And at this point, I don't know what's going on at all in his base, or what's going on with him continuing to build banshees here. But these roaches just kind of hanging out. I think he can... No, I can't quite see my guys, but... those roaches hiding out, and of course a bunch of baneling bombs waiting for me to come into this natural and cause trouble. Looks like he's making yet another overseer, a couple of spore crawlers. He's prepared for those banshees to come in. I think, I can't remember if I sent them in or what. Oh, Marines. Surprise! A whole bunch of... Oh, look at all that APM and all those blue clicks there. Those roaches causing a bunch of damage. Putting down a scan, trying to clear up some of this stuff. Not even seeing these baneling bombs. These banshees coming into attack, cloaking, trying to kill off these creatures. They really don't need to cloak. This overseer is preventing their cloak from doing any good, so we might as well go ahead and remove that cloak. But it looks like probably going to lose both these banshees. They're trying to run away and not able to get these queens to come over to these marines. So moving away, but of course, as with these burrowed banelings, he can see everything. Also with that creep, so these roaches just going to clean those marines up lickety-split. And checking out the army supply count. Again, I am almost at double supply, and really high on that worker supply compared to him. Coming down to this 3rd expansion, I mean, really, although it looks like I've been really keeping up with the macro, and I've been building workers at a pretty constant rate. Oh, that's so weird, that little changeling guy. Got a couple of marines at the different expansions, trying to see when he's going to expand. I haven't scouted out that he's expanded here, but that's a pretty good expectation at this point in the game that he's gone up there. And a bunch of these burrowed roaches. Wow, just look at them go on that double speed. They're pretty fast. Getting ready to come in, and I can actually see these guys over here, and so you can see me bringing in the tanks, and this lone brave SCV trying to build some towers so we can see what's going on. And oh, they moved back away. I kind of wondered what happened there. I don't know where those roaches are going to go. again, this Overseer just back here, and it looks like there's not a lot of room for him to build. And these roaches hightailing it all the way back to the base, and ooh, building some Mutalisks. These can cause a terrible amount of damage in that harassment style. This game has been going on for 26 minutes. Everybody should be running pretty ragged at this point, but look at my supply. I am almost supply capped. All these units in here, got 3 Thors, just a small handful of Banshees. And I'm running out of supply, so I really need to go ahead and make a move for it. A ton of Marines back here, 2 tanks for defense and a planetary. This base is pretty packed, but you know, once again, he's got this nice little Overseer that he can check out everything that's going on, but needs to be watching out for these towers coming in. So here comes a move out. At this point, I'm just trying to free up some supply. I'm supply blocked at 200. I have no idea how much supply he has, but armed with this Raven, I can see anything that's burrowed, and I see these. I can see those Banelings out there, so I'm going to take in these Banshees and clean up those Banelings, learning a lesson from my previous game where I lost the game basically because I had no detection whatsoever. These Queens trying to kill off that Raven, which is a great idea. That Raven is providing me the ability to take out these Banshees, and oh, here comes an attack. All these roaches coming in. They're doing just a terrible amount of damage, popping on the hit point tab, you can see. They're just destroying everything, and now all of my air units alone survive, running back to base, and these Mutalisks just chasing them back. Gonna take out that medevac, maybe? No, turning around. Okay, so now we're back back on the back foot again, both these bases. Oh, looks like he's gonna be moving out with these roaches, a couple of Corruptors, and these Mutalisks. They're pretty damaged though, and a Greater Spire being built somewhere on the map. It probably doesn't really matter where on the map, but Greater Spire going down. The Nidus Swarm, of course, just got a couple of Zerglings in there, and he's got a small flock here to make sure I don't expand to a 4th, and a couple of Zerglings here to see if I'm expanding to this gold. So he's got some pretty good map control with all of these roaches, but once again, I am pushing back up to that 200 mark. Built, looks like just 1 Thor. Those Banshees did survive from that first encounter, and woo, putting down double starports. So now we have 3 starports, and of course a couple of well, it looks like double engineering bays are now left to researching the final things in the upgrade path, such as the high-sec auto tracking for the turrets and the upgrade for the structure armor to make my building stronger. But here come in some roaches just to peek in and see what's going on. But I've got a couple of tanks here and a pretty good sizable army, and a whole bunch of Marines over here. Not sure what's going to happen there. Brood Lords being morphed in, being created now. 5 Brood Lords, a pretty good anti-air group, as long as he doesn't get caught by any of these Vikings that are being made up here. But most of the stronger force, high forces down there. So he's going to come in and try to take out this 3rd, which is a pretty good move for him. And ooh, look at these Marines just hanging out up there. I had dropped them in, checking it. Here they come, stimming in, going to cause some distraction, some damage. And right as he was about to go in, so his main army is just kind of hold on pause right outside of the base as I go in, trying to kill this expansion, and they work perfectly. Oh, look at all those Zerglings! They just ran right by all of these Marines. These Marines coming into the base to do some damage, and of course now he's bringing in these Broodlords. They're going to start sending these Broodlings, but all of these Marines are just going to be able to kill these Broodlings as I come in. Standard Marines coming in and trying to hit these roaches, but the roaches got a pretty good concave, backing off, which is really great. They heal so quickly underground. And these Marines barely able to hang on. I think they're going to be cleaned up pretty well, but this other force up here just hanging outside the gold base, and up here they come in, a couple of Vikings going to be tearing these guys apart. He doesn't really have any anti-air defense, so with this Raven able to see those hidden units. And here we go for a move out. So even though at some point I was far ahead in the supply count, we're actually fairly close, 122 to 143. So, and he is able to rebuild an army so quickly. Look at those roaches moving so fast, even though, I mean, of course we're on double speed, but moving so fast, even off of creep. Looks like they may be going to go in and try to clean out this group here. I'm not sure that he can really tell that that's there. But oh, here we come. Here's a big engagement, and the roaches are going to be able to clean up this ground force. Look at these split. But oh, look at that, landed Vikings. That's kind of a surprise. Roaches really just go ahead. Well, it doesn't matter. I was about to say they need to get out of there, but with these Banshees up at the top, and they are upgraded by 3. Wow, on that attack power. He's not able to do much damage there. Expanding out to a 4th, which is a great idea for him, and rebuilding that expansion at his natural expansion. But both of us have so much money. We're doing okay with the economy side. In fact, he's even mined out the gold minerals. That's just crazy. A couple of Vikings going to come in here, but there's really not that much here for them to attack or do damage to. And these units just protecting the gold out here. So he's already moved out to this expansion and getting a lot of minerals, but not mining enough gas to really take advantage of that. Ooh, looks like there was a Nidus Swarm drop again. Roaches coming in, trying to take out buildings. Ooh, that's going to prevent me from building things, except that I have a second armory, and here comes in the cavalry. Just kind of hesitating there, lifting off the orbital command. We're going to move that over to that rich mineral gas. Oh, and he's bringing him away, which was excellent. There was actually a Nidus Swarm here earlier that I missed. It happened so quickly. I had a bunch of Marines sitting right here, and the Nidus Swarm pumped out the Zerglings in this stream of one Zergling at a time, and the Marines were just able to just eat up those Zerglings. Lickety splits. So now we got a whole bunch of Marines stacked out here, and again nearing that supply cap, and a bunch of barracks back here adding to the mix. How many barracks do I have? I think I have 6. Oh, I don't know, 3, 6, something like that. But here comes out the death ball. Going to make a move for the rich mineral, which is funny because there's really no minerals there, so this is actually not even remotely a useful attack. There's tons of Zerglings coming in, trying to get into the mix, but these Vikings actually tanking against the Zerglings while the Marines were stimmed. And you can see there's only one medevac here, so the Marine's not able to do much damage. We're not able to heal from that damage, but I've just got so many units at this point, and we're maxed at 200. I got a bunch of Marines back at the rich mineral. Oh, the Vikings lift off to clean up those area units, and the Marines plus Vikings are able to clear up those area units. No problem at this point. I don't think there's really any coming back for the Zerg player. And, you know, that's one of the challenges of the Zerg player playing against a Terran player or a Protoss player, is that the Terran Death Ball, even such a strange mix-up, like a strange set of units like this, is just so strong that the Zerg player really has to keep the opposing player, whether they're playing Terran or whether they're playing Protoss, on the move. And he, as you saw, for most of the game he did a pretty good job of that, trying to keep me back on my bases, and pushing in with those roaches down here. That was pretty good, along with those brood lords, and the several Nidus attacks into the main to try to distract me from coming out after him. But behind that, he really needed to come out with his macro game. This, I think, was probably yet another example, kind of probably maybe an extreme example, where I went for a macro game, went for the natural expansion to get the advantage of mining off of 2 sets of mineral lines and gas geysers, whereas my opponent, if you remember, he stayed back, made a macro hatchery, so he only had 1 set of minerals and gas, trying to provide enough money to make use of a double hatchery, which is a pretty strong imbalance. And you saw that at some point he was basically kind of hindered by his income, and it wasn't until he went over to this rich mineral area that he was really able to take advantage of all of that production. But as a Zerg player, you really don't want to wait for that 200 mark to engage that Terran player, because the Terran units are stronger than the Zerg units, and the Zerg's one of the Zerg's strengths is the ability to recreate their army very quickly. But if you wait too long in the game, the Terran player or the Protoss player are able to build enough production structures that they can keep up with that quick army regeneration. You saw that even though I lost, I don't know, maybe 50 supply worth of units, excuse me, with all of these starports and these barracks, I was able to recreate the army very, very quickly. So I really think that there's this onus on the Zerg player to make their move earlier on in the game, and kind of keep the Terran player, the Protoss player, on their toes, and keep pressuring them, right? And trying to keep the production structures down, keep them on the move. And really, I mean, if the Zerg player had expanded to all 4 expansions, you know, this one, the rich, and this 4th, which he could have done, I believe, much, much sooner. I mean, if you look at the resources here, he had a bunch of resources. If he had been able to do that much sooner, I think he really could have swung the game in his favor. But by sitting back, and for so long sitting back on just 1 base worth of resources, I think he really hampered himself. And as you saw at the beginning of the game, he was actually at a pretty strong advantage. And could do a terrible amount of damage against me, but over time, having those double orbital commands, being able to call down those mules to wherever I needed to go, really did work out in my favor overall. So, all right, well, that's I guess that'll be it for Game 6. That he was actually favored. He was in Silver League, so he gave me a bunch of rank points there. That was very nice. But again, such a terribly long game. I mean, these economy games, just 46 minutes. I've intended to actually play 2 games and cast one of them, and look what happened there. So, all right, well, this is GosuDad signing off, and we'll talk to you guys next time.